All right, welcome everybody to the very first edition of a new toy series that I'm going to be doing that I like to call Toy Retrospective. Now, I'm kind of borrowing that wordplay off of my buddy Gary Newser, who is the comic perspective, so hopefully he doesn't mind all that much. But I just wanted to do something related to toys that wasn't what I was doing before. Previously, I was doing a top 10 toys list, and a lot of that was focused in on current market prices and what was selling and all that. And that just isn't as interesting to me. It's just covering the toy line as a whole. So while I may mention some of the prices and values as part of this, it's not the main focus of this series, as I just really like toys and I really like discussing different toy lines. So that's going to be my goal going forward, is to either talk about different waves of a larger toy series or just complete runs for some shorter series like the one we have today. And hopefully you guys are liking this content. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss any of it. Tell your friends so we get some more subscribers here so we can get to that next 800 subscriber milestone so I can give some more books away. And please let me know what you think in the comments, especially with this being a new series. I really could use the feedback. Let me know what you would like to see, what I could do better. Some toy lines you might want to see, things I can cover in the future. While I have a large list of things that I want to do, I want to know what you guys would like to see. So I am eager to hear from you guys in the comments section. So let me know what toy lines you would like me to talk about. Because as you can tell from the logo here, I want to cover toys that are not only from my favorite being the 80s, but also the 90s, the 2000s, the 70s, even going back to the 60s, because I know a little bit about some of that stuff too from when I was a kid. I used to play with some hand-me-down toys. So some of that stuff still holds a special place in my heart. Now, that being said, with our very first edition, though, I am going to be covering that era of my youth, and that is the 80s. So we're going to start in with the 1980s and a personal favorite toy line of mine as well, which was Visionaries. I love the Visionaries. Knights of the Magical Light. Those guys were awesome. So hang on for a minute, and we'll be right back to talk about Visionaries. All right, so as I noted in our opening, Visionaries was a favorite toy line of mine. I just love playing with those little figures. Just something about these cool little armored guys that had these magical totem animals that kind of felt like they were based off of Greek myths and Greek mythology. Just something really cool about all of it that just kind of struck a chord with me as a kid. So this is definitely one of my favorite lines from way back then. And I wish there was more than just one series, but that's all we got. And that's what we're going to cover here today. So for those of you that may not know, Visionaries was a toy line that came from Hasbro back in 1987. There was also a cartoon because, most toy lines back then had a cartoon to help them sell those toys. It was almost like free advertising or paid advertising. I don't know how you want to list it, but yeah, pretty fun little cartoon, as I said, and it helped them move, some of these toys. Apart from that, there was also a short-lived comic series as well, and I've talked about this before in Dollar Bin Digging because you can do well with a couple of these issues, especially the last two. They're a little bit harder to find on the lower print run, and the first issue is always good as well. But Visionaries is only 6 issues from Star Comics, that Marvel imprint, and 6-issue run is not really that hard to complete if you want to take that on. It might get tougher, as nostalgia is driving some of these prices up lately. But you can still sneak these things. A lot of times I grab any copy I find in those dollar bins and cheap bins, and you can find plenty of them out there. You just got to be patient. You just got to look. You just got to dig. And yeah, 6 issues. Maybe you have to pay up for 1 of these or 2 of these, but it might be worth it if you're really into it. So check it out. Definitely check it out. It is definitely, again, one of my favorites. Now, the toys themselves, as I mentioned, they were cool. They're these little guys. They're armored. They had a lot of points of articulation. You can move them around. Helmets came off. They had these pretty cool hologram, like I said, with the totem staffs and pretty cool weapons that were not your everyday usual, hey, just a plain old sword or axe. Like they had some inventive weapons here because it was almost like a futuristic knight kind of vibe going here. And there was some, interchangeability. You could take the helmets off of one character, put it on another if you really wanted to. Take a weapon, give it to the other guy. You could even take the chest plate that had their featured totem and move it around if you saw fit because you didn't like the lion being on Leoric and you wanted it on one of the other characters. You could do that. And that, to me, was always something that I really held in high regard for a toy line where it gave me that ability to kind of swap things around as I saw fit. But that's just me. I like playing around like that. So let's just kind of dive in and see like what we're talking about here, just a little bit with the prices. Again, this isn't all about prices. This isn't all about sales and values, but this is a part of it. Just something for you to be, keep in mind. They're not cheap by any stretch, but most toys aren't. So you can see here, $500, a whole lot, near complete lot of all 12 figures. Now, it doesn't look like you're getting everything here. It looks like there might be a helmet here missing, a weapon or two, and the vehicles are not included. And 4 of these individual figures here came with vehicles. So keep that in mind as well. But still, $500, not too bad if you can go find a lot that somebody had out there just in a bin, they're just trying to sell at a yard sale somewhere. You know, if you got a keen eye and can pick out a Visionary, you might do all right for yourself. And you can see here, Leoric, one of the main characters, $150 for it carded, which honestly, I could say that's actually a little soft. I thought that would be a little bit higher, all things considered, because it's not easy to find carded figures anymore these days, especially one in looks like it's in pretty solid shape. Maybe not perfect shape, but still not too bad if you ask me. But $150 could do a lot worse, especially when you consider some raws, or loose, I should say. This Recon character, $95 for a loose one. Granted, he came with a vehicle and one of the larger vehicles at that, so he's not the easiest figure to find loose, but just keeping that same kind of thing in mind that, hey, if a loose figure can get 100 and a carded's only 150, I don't know. I think there's still room. I still think there's room on this series if, nostalgia catches more people than just me, or this property gets more popular by Hasbro adapting it in some way, which I haven't heard any word that they're going to be doing that. But if they do, maybe some of these this toy stuff kind of heats up again. But other than that, just the normal nostalgia is still going to be driving these prices up over time because, I don't know, it is definitely a cool one to me. And we're going to start in with the good guys first. So we had 4 good guys, 4 bad guys in the individual figures, and then we have 4 vehicles that came with figures included that we're going to get to. So we're going to start off with the good guys, the Spectral Knights. Here we have Leoric, Cryotech, Arzon, and Witterquick. These were our 4 heroes that are going to start us off on this line. And you can see all of them come with a nice little weapon, and they all come with their little kind of totem staff, which is pretty cool. Now, a lot of it did, like I said, had a bit of ties to Greek mythologies with some of these characters featuring things like courage and speed and strength and things like that. Much like, many of the Greek gods were, this is the god of strength, this is the goddess of wisdom, this is the god of speed. That same kind of idea is what they were putting into these little armored figures. So we start off here with Arzon, who had an eagle as his totem creature, and a pretty cool looking little mace, like a pretty nice little weapon. It's on the smaller end, but it was definitely, again, it was different. It was unique. It's not your normal just, hey, we'll just give him a plain old sword. I also like the color schemes that they did on these armors. They were pretty bright. Granted, I know the 80's were all about bright colors, purples and teals and what have you, but I don't know. It's still pretty cool to me. More so than if they just did the plain old silver and gold and things like that. So Arzon is our first up here and our first good guy, and yeah, not too bad. Not my favorite, but not too bad. Our next one is more the tough guy, the big guy, the strength, the bear totem. So we've got Cryotech. Why is his name Cryotech? I don't know what it is, but that weapon's pretty cool. That little 3-headed, I don't know. I guess this is also a mace. I don't know what you would call it, but they're on the they would swing them around, and those spiked balls could really do some damage. And the red and blue is definitely hero colors, to be very clear on which side of the fence this guy's fighting on. And again, the bear totem is pretty cool. And you can see there's even a stallion on his totem as well. Again, the card reads out all the things about these characters, gives you what their archetype is, and what their strengths and powers are and whatnot. But I don't know. I always found it also fun to just kind of do my own thing and mix and match and do what I wanted when I was playing. That was just me. But still, definitely cool figures. And Leoric, who was basically their leader, I guess. I mean, he had that cool Keith Hernandez mustache,
I'm Keith Hernandez.
So, that wasn't my favorite, but I did like that whip. That whip was pretty cool. Definitely whip was a cool feature for him to have. I mean, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, so anytime you give a character a whip, I'm on board personally. And Yeah, he had that lion. Yeah, lion's also a cool totem animal for him to have on there. Definitely a cooler figure, but I don't know. He just seemed a little goofy with the mustache to me. I don't know. I know. I get it. I got one. I got a beard too, but there's something about it when I was a kid. I did not gravitate towards him. I more felt like I liked Witterquick here. Something about the cheetah, the speed, something cool about that. I don't know. So maybe the red. The boomerang was also a cool weapon, but he couldn't just have that. He needed another weapon too. So I usually would take something from somebody else, and you'd have the boomerang as like a long range, and then have some sort of a other weapon as well. Personally, it was stupid things I remember when I used to play with these toys. And I didn't love his helmet. His helmet was too motorcycle rider-ish. It was just too big and bulky and bland. But I did like the rest of this design of this character. I like the color scheme that they went with. It was definitely different from the rest. So he kind of stood out. But the helmet was not my favorite. So I would swap those things around personally as well. So those were our 4 good guys. And then we had the 4 bad guys, the Darkling Lords. Everybody loves the bad guy figures, right? I mean, these guys are pretty tough looking. You got Sindar, Kravex, Darkstorm, and Lexawar. Not too bad. They all sound like bad guys. And, color schemes all on the darker end also lend themselves to that tougher look. Our first one, Sindar, he was a good, cool character. I like this one. Something about that helmet was pretty tough. That big old bulky with the two twin visors, that huge mace, and the bad guys had all the gold like accoutrement, like on their armors and whatnot. All the good guys had all the silver based things. The bad guys, everything was laced in gold, basically, just so you can easily tell them apart. And Sindar had a gorilla as his totem, his totem creature, I guess you would say, and that's also a cool thing. The tough guys, you see him battling with Cryotech and his bear, strength against strength. Fun stuff. And the next one was I think my favorite of the bad guys. Just something about him. I know he's got a cool a cool look there with the dragon helmet and all the claws and the black and red. It's definitely classic villain look. And I'm surprised that Kravex here wasn't like the more of the main bad guy. But hey, it is what it is. When I played, he was like my main bad guy, and I like that axe was like a unique weapon that he had, because you can see he held it like on the handle, but it was wasn't like a normal axe. It was almost like an extension of his arm. Definitely more like a He-Man type weapon there. And again, that visor helmet with the claw on top of it was just definitely cool. So this was definitely my favorite villain. Whereas Alan Rickman, no, this is Darkstorm, and not to confuse things. I'm a big Alan Rickman fan. I'm just saying, this figure, he kind of does look like Alan Rickman a little bit to me. And this Darkstorm, I think, was the more of the head bad guy, I guess. I mean, he had that kind of dragon, snakish kind of like look. Pretty cool axe that he had, but looks like a lighter weapon to be sure. And the color scheme wasn't bad, but I still like the Kravex a bit more personally. That's just me. And then we got one more bad guy to look at, and that's Redbeard here, and that's Lexor, who also had a pretty cool little weapon. That little hook with the brass knuckle spikes, definitely different, definitely unique, and that's what I'm talking about. The weapons on these figures were different. They were outside the norm, at least to me. So definitely something that I enjoyed and look back on them fondly. And if you can find like these weapons and things, that's other things that sell well. Like some of these things are tough to find. You can sell like a loose weapon for like $20 if you can find it in some junk bin at a flea market or a yard sale, but you know what you're looking at. You just scoop it up, put it with something else, and pay a quarter for it and make yourself a few bucks potentially. That being said, those were the individual figures that you could get carded back in the day. But we also have the vehicles. We got 4 vehicles, 2 for the good guys, 2 for the bad guys. We're going to start with the bad guys first, and our first vehicle is probably one of my favorites, and that's the Dagger Assault. This thing was tough. Like, this thing was tough looking. It looked a little bit like a fire truck in that it had that railing kind of system up top, but that helped you launch the little escape pod, little extra little cruiser flying thing, which was kind of cool. A lot of little compartments you can put your guys when they're captured inside. Definitely cool. Holograms, blasters, all that types of stuff on here. Definitely unique design and that kind of like Arrowhead kind of vibe. Definitely liked it. Definitely liked this thing. And as I mentioned in the beginning, Recon came with this as the included figure, and he had a tough look too. I like this mustard and brown look with a lot of spikes on the helmet and the armor, the dragon scale, and that that sword that had that kind of like a rigid kind of look to it, almost saw quality. Definitely a cool weapon for him as well. Definitely like this guy. This is one of the better side characters, I think, out of the vehicle sets that we're going to talk about here. This is probably the best one. Recon, and also maybe one of the reasons why he sells for $100 loose, if you can find him. But the Skyclaw was another fun vehicle for those bad guys, and it still kept that same like arrowhead kind of vibe and look. Compartments they push out to the side, reveal some blasters underneath. So again, futuristic knights with lasers and some holograms and all this kind of fun stuff. I don't know, it was different. It was the 80s. This is the kind of weird stuff that we got into. And this is a cool flying vehicle and had the extra seat, which is also fun. So you can have a gunner with your pilot. So it wasn't just like a one-man vehicle. You can have two, riding along in this thing. Definitely fun. And this one came with Mortred as its as its pilot, basically. Pretty cool sword, but not just some generic sword. This pretty unique looking little sawtooth hook blade type of deal thing going. And that again, classic, purpley and teal bad guy colors. Helmet was pretty basic looking. It almost looks like a mollusk type deal, but it is what it is. Not everything could be gold, but their weapons were for the bad guys. And then we had our good guy vehicles. Our good guys, we had the Capture Chariot, which wasn't bad. Reminds me a lot of a He-Man vehicle, personally. It had these weird little compartments where you can float out on the sides and they could come back, and definitely all right. I mean, not the most awesome thing in the world, but it's pretty basic. This is a basic hero tank type vehicle. Like I said, it reminded me of a Masters of the Universe thing, personally. And this one came with this character, Feral, who had, again, that same mustard and brown look as Recon, but definitely not as cool. It's just too generic. Maybe too much mustard, and the helmet just had a big open face, which is the chin strap. It's just too, I don't know, it's missing something. And don't even get me started on that weapon. This Olympic torch cutout thing is just, I don't know the point of this. This was not a good weapon. This was not a good weapon. So Feral was not at the top of my list of playability, personally. Just that's just me. Though he did have that pretty cool wolf logo. So I think I took the wolf off of his chest and swapped that out along the way with one of the other good guys. But we have one more vehicle, and that is the Lancer Cycle, which is kind of cool. This is kind of a cool little vehicle for one figure to ride in. Got this cool battering ram and a little blaster on the side. Some flaps and holograms make this thing pretty fun to play with. And this one came packaged with Ektar, who, it's a pretty vanilla-looking hero. Yeah, to be sure. I mean, that white and blue is just pretty basic, and the helmet wasn't too bad, but it was not a lot going on there with with the design on this one, except that weapon. I loved his weapon. I used this weapon to pretend like I was playing with Predator with all other toys and toy lines. That was like the Predator blades to a T right there. The first Predator movie in '87 with Arnold. Maybe that's where they got the idea. I don't know, but this toy line came out at the same time. Definitely cool weapon. I used this. I stole it from this guy and gave it to other figures that I liked a lot better, because that was just a badass weapon. That claw. And Ektar was just so to me. But that was it for that first line. That was it. That's all we got. Those 12 was all we got. But they had plans for more. We just never got them, unfortunately. But it is fun to think about what could have been had we gotten more of these figures. Now, if you watch the cartoon at all, there were two female characters, one on the good guys, one on the bad guys. So Galadria and Viralina. I don't know if I'm saying their names right. It's been a long time since I've watched, but these would have been cool characters for them to include in the toy line. Definitely. That would definitely been fun to have, the Evil Lyn and Tila to go with the rest of these the heroes, just to kind of round out your toy line. You need a couple of girls mixed in there. It's only right. And one Galadriel, she had that dolphin figurehead, and Vidalina, she had a shark. So you still have that kind of head-to-head yin and yang kind of battle going between these two. But they would have definitely been fun to add in to that toy line, as well as the base they had planned. This I don't know what they were going to call it. I'm not sure if it ever came out with a name, but this mountain, the Spectral Mountain of sorts for the Spectral Knights, it's definitely cool. So they had all the cover art, all mocked up, ready to go. They had prototype pictures of what this thing might have looked like. This would have been, their Snake Mountain. This would have been their Castle Grayskull, their base, their big set to go, and I would have loved to have been able to buy this thing, but unfortunately, it was never released, so I never got a hold of it. But definitely a fun look. Like, it looks like it would have been cool. This tall mountain kind of thing going up with a hologram of Merlin there, right there in the center. It would have been a lot of fun to play on this thing. But alas, we never got it. But what could have been? What could have been? So, that being said, that's my wrap up for Visionaries. Visionaries. I love that toy line, and hopefully you like this series. Let me know again what you think going forward. What toy lines would you like to see? What would you like me to focus more on? Do you want more on each individual figure? Do you want more on prices? Do you want more on that kind of stuff? I can definitely try. I just was trying to avoid doing this about prices and sales, because that kind of dates things, because that's what I felt when I was doing the top 10 toys. Like, everything was dated, because it's like, as of that date when I covered those toys, those were what they're selling for. But these types of things change, so I want to do something that's more evergreen, and you can go back and just look at this toy line and get a better sense of what's in there and what it had to offer. And hopefully you guys enjoy that, and hopefully you want to see more of that. Again, let me know in the comments. I could definitely use it, especially with a new series like this. So please like, subscribe, tell your friends, hit the alert button, and hopefully you're enjoying this stuff, because I'm enjoying doing it, and I'd love to do some more stuff on toys. And I guess I will see you guys next time.